Some songs can change the Eurovision Song Contest forever, whether leaving such an enormous impact that no one can help but copy them, or inspiring a direct rule change in the following years. Some songs can have a profound effect. Number 10. Euphoria by Loreen. Loreen's first win at the Eurovision Song Contest at its 57th edition in Baku was a game changer for the contest. Not only did it bring the contest's most contemporary winner in decades, sounding right at home across Europe's pop charts, but it also reached a record amount of 12 points across the final hour of voting, so popular that the song reached number 1 in no less than 17 different countries, with the rest of the continent not far behind. Loreen had proven that the song contest could compete commercially with the rest of the industry. But the song's achievements didn't stop there. A cluster of entries attempted to copy it in the following decade at the contest, proving that imitation is truly the highest form of flattery. The song went on to remain voted as fans' favourite ESC song ever for 10 years in a row on the ESC 250 countdown. Euphoria was a revolution for the contest that long surpassed its victory in May 2012. Number 9. Absent Friend by Ingvar Wixel. Staying with Sweden, we go back to the 10th Eurovision Song Contest in 1965. The first Eurovision entry from a country other than the United Kingdom to be performed in English. Absent Friend became responsible for one of the contest's most prohibitive rules to come. At the time, there was no rule enforcing any particular language for countries to perform at the contest, because there hadn't been any need for one. Until that point, every country had performed in their native language without being asked to. Although Sweden had selected Absent Friend in its Swedish version, released only that version of the song commercially, and officially submitted their entry as such version, Ingvar Wixel surprised everyone at rehearsals by performing the song in English. Other delegations were furious, as they believed this would give Sweden an advantage, but there was nothing the EBU could do, as there was no rule to force Sweden to go back to Swedish. As a result, the following year's rules included a section which forced countries to sing in one of their national languages, a rule that would hold until Birmingham 1998, with a brief interim period between 1973 and 1976. Even outside of being the entry responsible for the language rule, the behaviour of Ingvar Wixel would become so influential that Edyta Górniak tried the same thing in 1994 when she represented Poland, performing in English at the rehearsal. However, this time the EBU put a stop to it. Number 8. Love Will Set You Free by Engelbert Humperdinck.
As love comes once, if you're lucky enough, though I'll miss you forever and the hurt will run.
Perhaps not the most obvious choice here, but the United Kingdom's 25th place from 2012 had a far more profound effect on the contest than you might imagine. Apart from breaking the record for the oldest ESC participant, only to be surpassed just half an hour later, Engelbert drew the random running order position of first for the Baku 2012 Grand Final. This meant that the entire 3.5 hour extravaganza began with a 76-year-old man singing a gentle ballad and not a big crowd-pleasing dance song that the EBU were hoping for. The fallout from this was initially limited to the BBC using it as an excuse for their 25th place finish, claiming that opening the show with such a song put them at a disadvantage. However, for Christer Björkman and Martin Österdahl, producers at SVT, the host broadcaster of Eurovision 2013, they immediately knew they had a duty to alter the contest to stop something similar happening again. If not for the sake of preventing any possible disadvantage, as the BBC had claimed, but then for the sake of just being able to open the show on the best foot. This led them to introduce a producer-led running order at Eurovision 2013, which saw each country draw either first half or second half, with the host broadcaster's team curating the rest of the running order. The only caveat being that the host nation was drawn randomly. This was once again modified by Björkman and Österdahl at Eurovision 2024, where producer's choice was introduced, placing half the song's running order entirely in the power of the producers without needing a randomly selected half. All of this because Engelbert opened the show. Number 7, J'aime la vie by Sandra Kim. The 1986 Belgian winner, J'aime la vie, featured the youngest performer to have ever won the Eurovision Song Contest, as Sandra Kim was just 13 years old at the time. Children had slowly been becoming a regular part of the contest throughout the 1980s, after Spain's 1979 second place had first brought them onto the Eurovision stage. However, they were always secondary to a primary adult performer. Sandra Kim not only was performing as a solo act, but she was also dishonest about her age. While she broke no rules by being only 13 years old at the contest, in the lyrics of the song, Sandra sung about being 15 years old, and as such, this was the age she was widely reported as being during her participation. When Belgium won, this led to a campaign to seek her win annulled, led by the second place Swiss delegation. Kim had not broken any rules, but her win did highlight to the EBU that perhaps the rules on child performers were in need of revision. Nothing happened immediately, as banning this while Belgium were the incumbent winners and hosting in celebration of Kim's victory would have been poor for the reputation of the contest. But after France sent 11-year-old Natalie Pack in 1989 in an attempt to capitalise on Sandra Kim's success, the EBU said enough is enough and introduced an age limit of 16 for Eurovision 1990, while safeguarding the contest for only adult performers. Although 16 being an adult is widely disputed, this rule also led to the creation of the popular spin-off contest, the Junior Eurovision Song Contest, in 2003, providing a space for those initially under the age of 16 to compete. Number 6, Europapa by Joost Klein. The Netherlands' infamous disqualified 2024 entry was significant for many reasons, outside of the fact that it had unprecedentedly already competed in a semi-final before being disqualified right before the grand final. The outrage from the EBU's decision managed to make world headlines and create a huge negative effect on the overall ESC brand, especially in the Netherlands.
Fuck the EBU.
Coupled with anger surrounding Israel's participation that week, the entry directly led to Martin Österdahl being booed by the audience at the grand final of Eurovision 2024.
The crowd have turned on Martin.
The moment of truth has arrived. And I can tell you that we've checked and verified all of the results, and we're ready to start revealing the results.
Some of the
grand
crowd
final
not
results.
happy with the EBU
So with that,
this year,
Malin
and
and
Martin's
Petra,
the face of it, so
you're good to go.
he's getting that response.
This wasn't helped when the Swedish police later investigated and found no wrongdoing by Joost Klein surrounding the alleged incident. However, what's most significant in the way Europapa changed the contest was the introduction of the Code of Conduct for Eurovision 2025 and beyond. One of the primary defences for Klein's alleged behaviour was that the environment backstage at the contest was unpleasant and without any respite from the media and cameras. As a result, taking on board this feedback from the Dutch broadcaster Avrotros and wanting to avoid such a situation ever happening again, the EBU introduced a new code of conduct for the contest, focusing on artist welfare and introducing things such as camera-free zones backstage. Number 5, Ne partez pas sans moi by Celine Dion. Switzerland's 1988 winner is perhaps best known for beginning the international career of Celine Dion, someone who became one of the best known names from the contest ever. However, it's not for this that her entry is so significant here. In fact, what's significant is the margin, just 1 point ahead of the United Kingdom. Switzerland only just managing to pull off the win by such a narrow margin was a wake-up call to the EBU to introduce a proper tie-breaking rule to account for the possibility of another tied winner. There had, of course, previously been a 4-way tie back in 1969, which wasn't tie-broken and led to a 4-way victory, eventually resulting in a mechanism for dealing with this to be introduced in 1971. While this method would decide a winner, it wasn't really a tie-breaking rule. Instead, it was that whichever songs tied would face a second vote, a runoff, to decide the winner. The close call in 1988 demonstrated 17 years later that a grown contest with more countries and a longer run time needed a faster and fairer way of deciding a winner in case of a tie. As a result, the following year the rule introduced was that the entry with the most amount of 12 points and failing that 10 points and so on would win. And it wasn't long before it would be tested, needing to be used when Sweden and France tied for the win in 1991. The tie-break rule would stick with the contest going forward, and from 2008 would be used to tie-break all placements in the contest, not just the winner. Number 4, Hold Me by Farid Mamadov. Perhaps the most pedestrian song on this list, Azerbaijan's 2013 second place, had such a profound effect because of exactly that fact. Azerbaijan had achieved a remarkable run of results since they debuted in 2008, only leaving the top 5 once and never leaving the top 10, as well as bagging a win in 2011. However, Hold Me revealed that all of this had in fact been a falsehood. During the 2013 Grand Final, as the results were being counted, it was discovered by the EBU that the televote results from Azerbaijan had been manipulated. The reason this had been discovered is that, unlike previous years, where there had been a base of authentic support already for Azerbaijan, only propped up by manipulated votes, here the song was so underwhelming that most of its votes had been engineered, making the anomalies become difficult to ignore. Mere minutes after discovering this, John Ola Sand unprecedentedly told viewers that they were not yet ready to reveal the results. In the usual moments, he'd tell the hosts to take it away.
I can see the results are coming in. However, I need a couple of more minutes to check and verify that we have right results. And there are 26 very good entries this year, but there can only be one winner of the Eurovision Song Contest.
And instead he went into an EBU crisis meeting. The meeting decided that in order to maintain the integrity of the show, especially with only minutes available to delay the results, they would keep the scandal quiet and present the results as received. supported in the fact that they knew Azerbaijan had only come second and hadn't managed to win again. However, the details surrounding this later leaked upon investigation from fans surrounding John Ola's unusual delay, leading to the discovery of footage showing the Azerbaijani vote rigging taking place, finding its way onto the internet. This led to the EBU making significant changes to the rules around vote manipulation and cheating for 2014. And suddenly in 2014, Azerbaijan, a country which had only been as low as 8th beforehand, came 22nd. As of 2025, they have only ever been in the top 10 once more since. The nation were once again caught up in a cheating scandal, this time around jury manipulation in 2022. However, due to the scale of the issue, with 6 countries involved, Martin Osterdahl chose not to follow the sanctions that Jon Ola Sand had laid out following 2013, with Azerbaijan remaining part of the contest without a ban. Number 3, Nel Blu di Pinto di Blu by Domenico Modugno.
Cantare, nel blu degli occhi tuoi blu.
In 1958, the Eurovision Song Contest was only 3 years old and was without any sort of commercial musical success to its name. The first 2 years had focused more on the technology behind the broadcast rather than the actual music itself. However, all of that changed when Domenico Modugno stepped onto the stage in Hilversum. Nel Blu di Pinto di Blu, later known better as Volare, would be the contest's first breakout international hit. Not only that, but it won the Record of the Year at the very first Grammy Awards in the United States and reached number 1 on the US Billboard chart. The success of Volare showed that the contest could be a breeding ground to launch artists internationally and get songs into the charts. Without Volare, perhaps the song contest might have failed to continue much further past 1958, once the novelty of the broadcast technology had worn off. In fact, the United Kingdom's return to the contest in 1959, after dipping out of this one, was directly inspired by the success of Volare, something which has kept them in Eurovision ever since. Number 2, Ooh Ah Just a Little Bit by Gina G.
Just a little bit, you know what I'm looking for. Just a little bit, a little bit more. Just a little bit, I give you love you can't ignore.
On the topic of the United Kingdom and the Grammys, their 1996 entry, Ooh Ah Just a Little Bit, was nominated for Best Dance Recording at the 40th Grammy Awards. Not only this, but it also became a worldwide hit and one of the most successful songs ever from the Eurovision Song Contest. What's most significant though is that despite all this commercial success, the song only came an underwhelming 8th place in Oslo. The song contest was at a bit of a dead end in the mid-90s, still relying on 100% jury voting, featuring what was soon becoming an archaic live orchestra and having 4 Irish wins within 5 years, resulting in both a sameness in the winners and the 4 Irish hostings. Things weren't evolving as fast as they should have been. The result of Gina G for the United Kingdom, with a song that should have been a runaway winner based on its immediate and concurrent success in the global charts, including many of the participating countries, meant that the EBU were forced to make some big changes going forward, as this happening only made the voting system of the contest look silly. The first immediate change was the introduction of the televote in 1997. This meant that for the first time, the general public could influence the results of the song contest. Due to the technical challenges of doing this Europe-wide, 1997 just saw a trial run with only 5 countries using a televote while the rest used a jury, which when comparing the two already showed how starkly different they voted. In 1998, a televote was introduced for all countries, something which stayed pretty much intact until 2009, when a 50-50 jury and televote system was introduced. Additionally, Ooh Ah Just a Little Bit had highlighted the issues with the orchestra, as the rules had forced the BBC to use two 1990s computer props on stage as all instruments, used on a backing track, not to be played with the orchestra, had to be displayed on stage, and the electronic production meant that a literal computer was the only way that this could be shown. Additionally, the parts that were played with the orchestra were laughably minimal.
Change the whole character of the piece coming up there.
As a result of this and much lobbying, especially from the German delegation, the rules were changed and the orchestra was dropped from the contest in 1999. Honourable mentions: Samiach by Ping Pong, the song which forced the EBU to officially ban political gestures on the Eurovision stage after this Israeli group held up Syrian flags during their performance in protest at their government's actions. Waterloo by ABBA, the song which launched the careers of one of the biggest bands in the world and also earned the song contest the reputation of being a cheesy Schlager festival for decades to come. Zitti e Buoni by Måneskin. Måneskin winning the song contest has forever changed the reputation of Eurovision, especially amongst young people, as it made it cool again, showing the contest as a relevant commercial event ready to leave its stamp on the music industry. Number 1. Blauer Planet by Leon. There's a good chance you've never heard of this song, but its impact makes it easily one of the most important songs in Eurovision history. Not only is it, alongside the previous entry on the list, partly responsible for the introduction of the televote and the scrapping of the orchestra, but it's also solely responsible for the introduction of the Big Five. In the 1990s, as the contest expanded and struggled with juggling all the new countries wanting to enter, they trialled several different methods of keeping the numbers in the grand final down. Initially, this saw a separately hosted live semi-final show in 1993, held weeks before the final, before moving to a relegation system in 1994 to keep costs down. This was unpopular, as one bad result would mean you had to sit a year out of the contest. So, due to its unpopularity, in 1996, new executive supervisor Christine Marshall Ortiz introduced a new attempt at a semi-final. This time, every single song except the host country competed. The voting was entirely jury-based, happened behind closed doors, without a TV broadcast, and would be based not on live performances, but instead on solely the studio track. In theory, it was a good way to give every country who wanted to compete a fair shot, instead of basing it on their results the previous year. However, it had the side effect of seeing Germany fail to qualify. Not only was this a huge financial blow, as Germany had one of the largest participation fees.
3 of the big ones, and these ones are out. Germany. Ooh. So Germany is out. Scheiße. Scheiße. You know.
But Germany's lack of participation saw the viewing figures of ARD decrease tenfold, damaging the overall viewership of Eurovision 1996 for the EBU. On top of all this, Germany's entry had been one of the favourites to win, and had the vote been decided by the public instead of a jury, there's a very good chance it could have been right at the top of the table in 1996 instead of finishing an incredibly disappointing 25th place. Coupled with what also happened with the United Kingdom that year, another commercial Eurodance song, the EBU brought in the televote. They also scrapped the semi-final for 1997, going back to relegation, as the fuss Germany had kicked up about non-qualifying made the issues around relegation seem small in comparison. It took a few years for Christine Marshall Ortiz to work out just how to prevent a situation like this happening again, so that the highest viewerships could remain in the contest, leading to a new rule being introduced in 2000, which saw creation of the Big Four: Germany, United Kingdom, Spain and France, countries who'd now always be in the final no matter what, in spite of relegation. And from 2004, in spite of needing to qualify from any semi-finals. This was expanded to the Big Five in 2011 as Italy returned and also joined the group. Blauer Planet showed to the Eurovision Song Contest that whether it was fair or not, the appearance of the largest countries in Europe at the contest was integral to it being successful, as lower overall viewership meant lower overall interest and a lower overall budget. The particular anger from Germans as well as fans around losing Blauer Planet, which amongst other things saw Germany rename their national final in honour of it for many years, meant that the EBU had to take action on both the jury vote and the orchestra, bringing the contest soon into the 21st century.